My primary interest is dinosaurs, and dinosaurs of Australia. I've been investigating some very new and exciting fossil discoveries at Lightning Ridge in north central New South Wales. The original bones were discovered in 1985 by Bob Foster, who was an opal miner in Lightning Ridge. He immediately recognised them as something important and contacted the Australian Museum. They sent a team out to Lightning Ridge, including a contingent from the Army, to help excavate the skeleton, and they turned out dozens of bones and what is the only dinosaur skeleton known from New South Wales. After several years, that material ended up back in Lightning Ridge, where it sat on display for a number of years. I'd been living in Canada for 8 years before moving to Armidale, and when I came here, I knew the first place that I wanted to go to look for dinosaurs was Lightning Ridge. When I arrived on the doorstep of the Australian Opal Centre, they showed me their collection, and amongst that collection was this beautiful skeleton that Bob had found. And my jaw dropped immediately. I never realised that there was such fantastic stuff right here in New South Wales. So we began then a long process of getting that material formally donated to the Australian Museum, so it was available for research, and then we brought that material to Armidale so that we could CT scan it. The aim of the CT scans was to look inside the rocks. So the bones themselves have not necessarily been removed from the rock, but with CT technology you can virtually extract the bones without physically having to touch them or manipulate them. And that's a really good way to go about dealing with particularly some very delicate and very special bones. So the scans that took place at the Armidale Radiology will now enable us to see those bones for the first time in 3 dimensions. My collaborator Steve Rowe here is helping to, like I said, extract those bones from the rock, and you can manipulate them in 3 dimensions on the computer then, just as you would if you were holding the actual specimen. The bones will be returned to Lightning Ridge and they'll go back on display there. But most importantly, one of these blocks contains part of the skull of this new animal. The skull is kind of the holy grail in paleontology. You can get the most amount of information from a skull about what this animal was, what it looked like, and what it was related to. And those are all very key questions for a paleontologist. So that skull will be delicately removed from that block so we can see it in 3 dimensions, in addition to what the CT data has told us. This will become a kind of the backbone of the Australian Opal Centre exhibit, I would think. This is again the only skeleton of a dinosaur from New South Wales. It's the only skull that we have of a dinosaur in New South Wales, so it's going to be a pretty exciting find. So now begins the long, slow process of formally describing this animal. In order to name a new species, a paleontologist has to literally describe each of the bones in a skeleton and compare those bones with related species. This is a pretty long, drawn-out process, and the publication process takes considerable time as well. Obviously, with something as new and special as this, deserves recognition, and Bob Foster certainly deserves the recognition for having found this and donated this extraordinary find. So it's certainly my hope that Bob will be recognised for this in the name of the new dinosaur.